getting answers for Western Massachusetts. This is Western Mass News.
To have the biggest improvement in the dropout rate in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is noteworthy.
A big milestone for Springfield Public Schools, coming up what they're doing to keep students in the classroom.
And as more and more Americans receive the vaccine, many are wondering if a vaccine passport will be required. Coming up, we speak with an expert on the likelihood of that happening.
They made us sit on buckets, which I thought was wrong because, we should at least get chairs.
Plus, kids and parents unhappy in Easthampton. Up next, why they say their eating conditions at school are unacceptable. In less than 10 years, Springfield Public Schools have made significant gains in the number of students graduating after 4 years. Good Friday evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Jordyn Jaglinzer. The recently released 2020 data on graduation and dropout rates adds another chapter to the district's journey.
Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo joins us now live in Springfield to break down the numbers.
Well, there's been a significant change between 2012 and 2020, but perhaps what's most significant is how much of that change happened during the year of the pandemic. As recently as 9 years ago, not even 60% of students walked away from the Springfield Public School District with a diploma after 4 years in high school.
We were losing too many of our kids, and their futures were not going to be positive without improving this dropout rates.
In the 2011-2012 academic year, state records show Springfield's dropout rate was 10%. But fast forward to 2020, the year when COVID-19 hit, and that number is down to 3%. Within the last year alone, Springfield lowered the dropout rate by 1.4%.
To have the biggest improvement in the dropout rate in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is noteworthy.
And while nearly a decade ago the graduation rate was 56.6%, now 77% of students are graduating high school in 4 years. Superintendent Daniel Warwick says the district developed long-term strategies to help at-risk students before they even entered high school.
We started using that information down to kindergarten to change outcomes earlier and putting early intervention strategies in place.
One school with an impressive change on its dropout rate report card, CITE High School, which Warwick says went from 11.7% to 2% in fewer than 10 years. CITE's principal owes the academic success to relationship building among students and teachers.
It's a combination of first trust, but then again, with that trust, challenging students, pushing them to be great every day.
But with the pandemic moving school online, the most recent crop of juniors and seniors faced challenges like no other. So what helps students enjoy school?
I definitely think that clubs, after-school activities, and incentives like that definitely create a sense of culture.
Shane DILLON is the vice chair of the recently formed Springfield chapter of the Massachusetts High School Democrats. He says one big change during the pandemic may have actually played a big role in getting students to the finish line. That's waiving the MCAS testing.
Instead of focusing on this big standardized test, teachers were able to shift their focus on what really matters and, in their professional opinion, what will really benefit our students.
Now, you may have noticed that the dropout rate and the graduation rate didn't add up to 100, and Warwick says that's because not every student who graduates is counted, because sometimes a student, for example, could move out of the district and wouldn't be included in that total. Reporting live in Springfield, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thanks for that live report. The Department of Public Health releasing today's COVID-19 data. They say the state's positivity rate over the past week sits at a little under 2.5%. They say there have been 9 new deaths due to the coronavirus, and so far, more than 2.7 million Massachusetts residents have received 1 dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. There are approximately 6.8 million who live in the Bay State. For a full look at those numbers, you can check out our free Western Mass News streaming app.
Each day, more and more Americans receive the COVID-19 vaccine, but as those shots are administered, there's a growing debate on whether or not people should provide proof of immunization through a vaccine passport.
The passport would allow entrance into places such as large venues and foreign countries. Western Mass News reporter Briseida Landaverde has the details.
It's just been so long that we've all been cooped up in the house. Stephanie Morales, a Springfield resident, is ready to sign up for a vaccine passport if it means finally getting back to some normalcy.
Showing that you got the vaccine, I feel like it's just a way to say that you're making a change for this world.
Vaccine passports are a way to show that someone has received the COVID-19 vaccine. This can be through an app or a written certification. But is everyone on board? We asked for your thoughts. One viewer said, takes the fear out of traveling or entering very congested venues, while another said, absolutely not, unconstitutional violation of our rights and freedoms. James Harold, a philosophy and medical ethics professor at Mount Holyoke College, said there could be privacy concerns if the app were to provide more information than just a yes or no on COVID-19 vaccine records.
If we use, say, an app on a smartphone that integrates vaccine information with other private medical information, that could give companies that could give other groups access to private information.
On a federal level, the White House said on Tuesday they will not issue a vaccine passport nor a system that requires Americans to carry proof. This would be left in the hands of local and state governments.
So there might be particular businesses, schools, right, that would use this. Maybe some states will adopt it.
And Harold says this system could be a trade-off to once again attend crowded spaces such as concert venues.
Would they then be able to host the concert at all? Or would they have to do it at a reduced capacity? What would the cost be, right? And what would the limitations be if that wasn't done?
For Western Mass News, I'm Briseida Landaverde.
And for more coverage on the coronavirus emergency as it develops, log on to our free Western Mass News streaming app.
Well, temperatures this afternoon managed to get back into the 70s just about everywhere, but we only hit right around 70. So we were about 2 degrees shy of our high temperature yesterday, and that was just due to the cloud cover that's been increasing. But since it took so long for those clouds to get to North Adams, they hit a high of 74 this afternoon. So we do have those high and mid-level clouds that are starting to thicken up a little bit. Temperatures have dipped back into the upper 60s, and breezes are sustained right now at about 10 miles an hour out of the south-southwest. Dew points are also starting to climb just a little bit, and we are going to be a bit milder tonight due to the rising dew points, due to the clouds, and due to the breeze. It's still pretty warm up through Franklin County, 70 in Orange, and Greenfield, 71 in North Adams. But you can see temperatures here in the 60s, and they are dropping a bit because that's where that thicker cloud cover is. Breezes are at about 5 to 15 miles an hour for everybody at this hour, so it's feeling kind of nice out there this afternoon or this evening. And we do have some showers that you can see moving across the Hudson Valley, but those are fizzling out. There might be a sprinkle or two, but I think the air is too dry and it'll evaporate before it hits the ground. So we'll call it mostly cloudy later on tonight, with temperatures falling into the middle 50s by midnight. And then overnight lows should only dip into the low to mid 40s. It'll be a cloudy start tomorrow, but we'll also get some sunshine and temperatures return to the 70s for one more day. I'll have your full forecast in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Jana, thanks. Now for a story you'll see only here on Western Mass News. A concerned parent reaching out to our newsroom with questions about lunchtime conditions at an EASTHAMPTON middle school.
Western Mass News reporter Lena Jakowski has the exclusive story.
I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I was shocked, totally shocked. Why not even a chair? And then I also asked, like, do you have a table in front of you? No table.
EASTHAMPTON resident Katie Hanchett never imagined that when she sent her children back for in-person learning this month, their new normal would include sitting on plastic buckets to eat lunch.
They made us sit on buckets, which I thought was wrong because, you know, we should at least get chairs. And they have chairs in the auditorium that they're not using, like fold-up chairs. And yeah, I just feel like why do we have to sit on buckets if they have chairs that are not in use?
Connor is an 8th grade student at Whitebrook Middle School. He tells Western Mass News when he took his concerns to the school's principal, he received the following response.
She said it was the school committee's fault and not hers, and then I mentioned the chairs in the auditorium, and she said she'd look into it, but that was like Monday, so.
When his mother found out, she was outraged, wondering why the school would spend funding on buckets, especially during a pandemic. The mother of 4 says she felt obligated to speak out, voicing her concerns exclusively with Western Mass News.
They weren't ready to bring them back Obviously, they're not ready if they're sitting on 5-gallon buckets outside. They're not ready. Why? We had 2.5 months left of school. What's the rush?
For Western Mass News, I'm Lena Jakowski reporting.
And now the school district tells Western Mass News in part, quote, "Our schools and students have been creative and our families and staff are appreciative of the efforts to keep students safely distanced in an outside environment." The full statement can be found on our website, westernmassnews.com.
New at 6, the Springfield Police Department continues to crack down on illegal dirt bikes. 19-year-old David Clark was found by officers on St. James Ave with a stolen dirt bike. Police say Clark then intentionally drove his bike towards the officer, trying to run him over. He now faces 6 charges, including 2 counts of assault and battery of an officer. Just moments later, officers pulled over 31-year-old Hector Marrero and Charlie Rodriguez Otero. These 2 riders were revving their engines to make gunshot noises. Neither of the men were wearing the proper gear or had the correct documentation for the bikes, so they were also arrested. And a 15-year-old was also spotted and had the dirt bike seized as well.
A Holyoke man believed to be associated with a drug cartel was arrested Thursday on charges of trafficking in fentanyl. 44-year-old Jose Rivera Rodriguez was indicted on multiple counts of attempting to distribute fentanyl after he delivered $35,000 to a cooperating witness. Police seized an assault rifle, 5 handguns, a bulletproof vest, and more than $1,500 from the defendant's home. Rodriguez faces up to 10 years in prison and a $10 million fine.
The UMASS Minutemen are in the championship game tomorrow night. I'm Leon Purvis, coming up here from Greg Carville on how he is expecting for tomorrow to go.
Plus a 24-hour Vax-a-thon. Coming up, we have the details about a vaccine site that's open all day and all night.